So you guys know Rita Ora, right? The R.I.P. love song singer. Okay, so she had, both of her parents, should I say, are from Albania, so they're white Albanian. But she has recently come under fire on Twitter for blackfishing. So for those who don't know what blackfishing is when you use makeup or Photoshop or cosmetic surgery to appear like you have black or mixed race features, or if you're black or mixed race heritage, okay? But Rita isn't the only celebrity that's been accused of this. Of course, we've had the Kardashians, Ariana Grande, that Instagram influencer, Emma Hallberg. They all appear to have black features, even though they're of European ancestry. So my question is to you girls, when it comes to celebrities, Instagrammers, influencers, are they appropriating or appreciating when it comes to black features?
I think appreciating black culture is actually a lot harder than appropriating black culture. And I say that because black culture is one of the most marketable things on this planet Earth, and mainstream culture is full to the brim with black culture. Although when it is in mainstream culture, it's not always presented as being attached to black people, and most of the time it's of more value when it isn't. And I think that for artists, it's really easy to fall under that cultural appropriation category, because black culture is not really considered popular culture until it is adopted by non-black people. And because black culture sells so well, I can only imagine the amount of encouragement artists would have to adopt it. But as an adult, I find it really difficult to believe that people don't see these double standards, because black artists are encouraged all the time to physically cater to white audiences. I mean, we talked about in episode 2, Alexandra Burke having to listen to people encouraging her to lighten her skin, and we see most of the times in more industries than just the entertainment industries. You know, last week we talked about Kamala Harris and Michelle Obama. You have to have straight hair to have a certain amount of success. So it's interesting to see adults kind of be okay with this, because white creatives get to swim in all these rivers whilst black creatives are paddling in an overcrowded lake. So it's absolutely possible to appreciate black culture, and cultural appreciation is a thing that exists, but I don't think it's a thing that we're talking about right now, because if you appreciate it, wouldn't you just leave it alone? Wouldn't you want to be elevating the people that it originated from instead of using them as accessories for personal gain?
And I think that's such an important point, Luanda, in terms of wouldn't you be wanting to lift up the people in that culture? Because for me, if you're going to be doing this, are you standing with us when we have the injustice? Are you the first person talking about why we can't get proper healthcare? Are you doing more than posting a black square on Instagram? Like, the thing is, if you really feel for the culture, if you're like, I'm so down for the black culture that I want to appropriate your features and get fillers and to cosmetically enhance my buttocks, then be down for us, because what we're really seeing is people having the privilege to be able to put it on, and if it doesn't serve them, take it off. And that's the thing that I don't like, because you can take all the money that comes from it, from brand endorsements, but when it comes to being in a neighborhood and people don't want you on your doorstep because you're black or whatever, are you saying anything then?
Exactly. And I think part of it is as well with cultural appropriation, people aren't paying homage or, literally acknowledging where these things have come from. For example, when Kim Kardashian does these Egypt things that they call box braids or whatever they call them when they're cane rolls, she has a mouth. Instead of her to open her mouth and be like, no, these are actually cane rolls, but they're from such and such, she just takes the praise. People be like, oh, these Bantu knots. I don't know what they're calling Bantu knots. I don't know, they're calling them something else. Oh, they're so exotic. No, just stop and say these aren't actually what you think they are. Like, I think if more creators and influencers and celebrities would actually say, no, actually, this thing that you're celebrating me for actually comes from such and such, then I would see it as cultural appreciation. But because they just stay silent, they take the praise and they keep it moving. And like Sophie said, they have the privilege to take off those accessories when it pleases them. Because let's not lie, your skin tone, even if you're tanning it, or what was that woman that was doing injections so her skin could be darker?
Oh yes,
babes.
What?
Babes, yeah. Some
Did you see
woman
this morning?
It was crazy. She was actually taking shots. yeah, taking a shot so her skin could be darker. I'm just like, but babes, you know, at the end of the day, you miss one of those shots, you're gonna go back to your natural skin tone, which will still give you the privilege you were born with. So for me, it's just I think the majority of things that I'm seeing are appropriation.
Yeah, I agree, but when I'm starting to look at these celebrities and stuff like that, when I'm thinking about appropriation, I'm trying to figure out, like, for some celebrities, I feel like the appropriation is happening at the individual level. Like, they're very conscious of what they are doing and what they're emulating or what pieces they're taking. But other celebrities, I feel like it's not like an individual problem. I think it's like a little bit wider than that, and kind of go with me where I'm going here. Like, so take
us with you, girl.
Yeah,
take us with you.
This is where I've been thinking about it, because if you like black features or black culture, you know, it started to book up. It got a little popular and it became trendy. Okay, and whenever we have a trend, here comes, you know, Mr. Capitalist, the Mr. Mass Media, and they take a hold of it and they commodify it. So just like as Luanda was saying, like, this is something that is sold and bought. So these people are buying it, whether it's through cosmetic surgery or makeup or Photoshop, and it makes them, and I'm not saying it's right, but I think for some of them, it gives them a false sense of entitlement. Like, oh, like, because I bought it, this identifies to me. This is a part of me. Like, this is an extension of myself, the evolution of my glow up or whatever it is. And they think, like, I think they think like that because when they look at their peers, everybody else is doing it because that's what they see in pop culture, and they may have people around them that then validate what they're doing. So like with Rhea Ora, of course, we've seen her with box braids, we've seen her in a little blonde afro, and we know that she has black friends because we see her toting around with the black friends all the time, and so they are obviously validating what is for her. So I think with a lot of these celebrities, they think, oh, what I'm doing is trendy. They're not 100% thinking this is directly from black culture. Sometimes I think they think this is trendy, and I think that's where the media plays a part of it. So then I think, okay, the media, we know, is the number one cultural appropriator, but sometimes it's not down to the individual. Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean?
But do you know what? I feel like it's always down to the individual. Do you know what it is? I feel like, do you know why? As individuals, especially in the age we're living in, we have access to so much in information. And I think, yes, true. The mass media is terrible. It is what it is. But if you are really a sane, serious somebody, you're going to do your research. No, but you know what I mean? I think so many of our issues that we say, oh, but it's the media, we have a duty to actually look for this information ourselves, to actually do our research. And I think people are just naturally lazy and happy to, you know, place the blame elsewhere. Oh, I didn't know it was cultural appropriating because Vogue put it in their September issue. I just thought it was a hairstyle. So I think people are just so quick to have the blame elsewhere. It's still down to the individual.
For me, I don't think that I agree with what you're saying in part, Anissa, that, well, in fact, do I? I don't know if I do, actually. Because people like Rita Ora, she was on like the Breakfast Club saying how, oh yeah, like a lot of people think that I'm black and I'm fine with that because it's gotten me places. And for me, I'm just like, well, if that's what you think, like, you feel like you can siphon down being black to our hair or the shade of your skin or bigger lips or rolling with black people or music, and it's like racial fetishization because you think that that's what being black is. It's being those few things. So if I have big hair, then yeah, I could pass as mixed race. I kind of am black. And that's what she said on the Wendy Williams show. So for me, I'm like, being black is more than that. And when people do that, they reduce us, especially as women, to just the way that we look or our physical features. I'm like, it's deeper than that. So I think those people have a lot to account for. And as Linda said, they can't just be saying in this day and age, well, I didn't know, or it's not harmful, because it is harmful. Because people who are getting brand endorsements, they're going with people like Rita Ora or Emma Hallberg, the influencer, because they're like, oh, we're being diverse because they're kind of mixed, you know, they can pass, and it takes it away from people who are actually fitting into those demographics.
I agree. I don't disagree with you. I agree.
I hear that. I think that the whole blackfishing situation actually just points again to us always celebrating the lighter skinned or more racially ambiguous members of the black community, especially when it comes to women, because I think with black men, in the entertainment industry or just in positions of power, they have more freedom to have darker skin, because on a black male, dark skin represents strength. But when it comes to women, dark skin represents masculinity, and that pushes you even further away from the beauty standards.
Okay, I don't want to interrupt, but let me just ask. So, what do you think about the black men who are actually dating these women who have black features? And it's kind of like, well, they're not really dating black. Let's say for the Kardashians, for example, the guys that they date, at least a couple of them are routinely black. They date black men, and these black men are dating them, and they have black features. Do you think it's something that's appealing to these guys? And what do we think it's saying about them? Because I'm like, so you want a woman with black features, you just don't actually want her to be black.
Sophie, let's not lie, those guys are a mess. Let's just be very, very honest, okay? No, let's be real. No, let's keep it 100, right? Those guys are a mess. Like Mr. Kanye West, we've already seen what it is. I don't know, he's unraveling his downfall. And I'm not just talking about since he's been with Kim. I think unfortunately since his mum died, a lot has happened to that guy. And if you go through Kim's historic partners, even Ray J's, like, you know, those men, I can't take them seriously. And it's not because they're dating those women. So don't get twisted. Women, do your thing in it, whatever. But it's the fact that they date these women, but yet they don't lift up black women. That's why I can't take them seriously. And if you think about Kanye, you don't see that thing where he had his rally and he hugged some white woman, and then a black girl asked him a question, and he started berating this black girl, like going at her. But it's like, hold on, you're just holding, you were hugging the other white woman who interrupted you as well. You brought her on stage to hug her, but when a black sister came to interrupt you, all of a sudden your guns came out and you had stuff to say. And that's why I think the men that did them, they're a mess. They are a mess. And I think the psyche, I just feel like too many people are living with trauma, and they've not been able to identify it, and therefore not been able to work towards the root of it and to make themselves whole again. Because babes, me that loves my mum, I love my dad, I can't now come and tell you, black men, no, but give me a white man that has a broad nose and I'm all for, no, that's not the life I'm living.
Linda, I definitely pick up with you to even answer that question to Sophie. I do think a lot of them are living in trauma. And if you take, for instance, obviously Chloe's ex-husband Lamar, he came out and said last year, I don't have healthy relationships with black women. For a long time I didn't date black women because I didn't know how to love them. And he was just basically he had negative experiences, so he just stayed away from all black women and he just didn't love them. But now, and then he said he went through some healing. Now the woman he's engaged to is a black woman, and he's like, this is where he should have been, and blah blah blah. So there is a lot of trauma, because Lamar spoke to that trauma. Obviously Kanye, but like if you take for instance even like Tyga, when we all knew that he was messing with Kylie, he told us as black people we didn't understand the concept of what a friend was. When it was like, no, we know what friends are, but that's not what you and this little girl is. And so what I'm saying is there was just I think they're just not trauma. There you go.
I think on the topic of trauma, I think when you have real relationships, because I know that like any of us who's been in long-term relationships or just healthy friendships as well, when you have those healthy relationships, they will help you address the trauma. We're not gonna swerve it. If we see some things there, we'll work through it together, but we're not gonna pretend like it doesn't exist, and that again for me, Sophie, in terms of asking about like those black men with these women, it goes back to valuing black features when it's not on black people. And this is why I said why it's so easy for especially when it comes to women, for people to be blackfished, because they look like the version of a black woman that we're so used to seeing. We're so used to seeing black women with the are they, aren't they features and the are they, aren't they skin tones. And so when, like I said, when you have like a non-black woman with a good tan, a curly perm and a bandana, it's very easy for her to pass, because this is the type of black woman that we're being presented with. And it's not to say that, black men don't have their issues with representation. It's just that they have more permission to be every shade at every stage of success. And with black women, you can be racially ambiguous and you can be biracial and you're still a black woman, but we are not represented as diversely as we exist.
Well said, Luanda.
And I think on that thing that you said in terms of like, the idea of passing, like, I think this whole blackfishing is funny because you see it flipped on its head now. Because before it was black people trying to pass as white, but they were doing it because not only because it gave them benefits, but to save their lives. Like,
to survive.
Your life could literally be, you could literally be killed because of your skin tone, but now we have white influencers and celebrities profiting on it because it's getting them somewhere, and it's just not okay for me.